Hi and welcome to Nerdy Gamers. The game today we're going to be looking at is Elite as part of my video gaming history segment. Okay, let's get started then. Elite was originally developed in 1984 by two people called David Braben and Ian Bell. David Braben has recently been in the news because of the development of the Raspberry Pi, a credit card sized, very cheap computer, which was there to help children learn how to program, but it's also had massive take-up all around the world. If you want more information on this particular computer system, you can find it in the description below. Now, Elite is a wireframe 3D graphics game. It originally took 2 years to develop, and it was done entirely in machine code because their first computer only had 14 kilobytes of memory, so everything had to be really compact, really focused on everything that they wanted. And there's an amazing amount of gameplay for such a small amount of space because of the procedurally generated content, whereby you have 8 galaxies, each filled with maybe 100 different planets, and it's all done basically using a seed generation. And you store these various seeds which can generate everything, all planet details, where all the planets are located, the names of everything's all done from that seed system. So it just goes to show you just how powerful procedural generated content can be. You don't actually need to create a very big game in order to have a very big game, but a lot of modern games like to do it so they can have a handcrafted experience. But with the right procedurally generated content, you can create an amazing world without ever actually having to do anything. One of the prime examples of the world generation, I think, is Dwarf Fortress, where you can go through maybe 1,000 years of history, and it'll create whole continents or islands complete with mountain ranges, flatlands, rolling plains, forests, swamps, and it actually goes through and it'll generate all the content, have weather systems which will help do the erosion on the ground. So it's one of those things, you don't need a lot of memory in order to create a very big game. Now, this game might not have been the first to be the first flight sim, it was not the first space trading game, it was not the first game procedural generation. It wasn't even the first sandbox game, but it combined all of these elements to produce what was and is one of the defining games of its era, but also it had such a great impact on so many games in the future. Anyone playing a flight sim, flight game, will probably see some elements of this in it. It's an pinnacle of the original design and what helped lead on to other things. Procedurally generated content. This is one of the prime examples of creating massive worlds. It was one of the best examples at the time of any sandbox game where you're free to go where you want. And it's not like there aren't quests in the game. There are. I mean, there's several. Some of them are hidden and some of them you rarely come across. As one where you can actually pick up the renamed Tribble, and you have to fly really close to the sun in order to get rid of it. There's also one time the sun is going supernova, and you have to fly to the space station, pick up the occupants, and get out of systems as quickly as possible. There's also sort of like a combat mission where it doesn't announce anything, but there's an opportunity to pick up a cloaking device. Okay, so let's actually take a look at the game itself. Now, this is your sort of like initial stream when you've got a character. I've cheated a little to give myself a docking computer, an ECM system, just so that we can have an actual look at the game without having to worry too much about the little ins and outs. Now, it's telling me my name, where I am, where my destination is plotted to, how much fuel I've got, cash, my legal status if I've been naughty or bad, and number of kills I've had. Now, we can wrong screen. We can have a look at the market prices. Now, this game basically revolves around trading, but you don't have to trade. You can completely forgo trading and just basically be a pirate or an anti-pirate. So you can either run around and kill other people for what they're carrying, or try and wait and be attacked by pirates. But a good thing that a lot of people do is often trading. Buy low, sell high. And we're in an agricultural world, so food is really quite cheap. Computers and machinery are quite expensive. And you get a variety of different items that you can pick up. So as you can see, luxury is very, very expensive here, so you would want to try and buy them elsewhere. Running slaves and narcotics is kind of considered illegal in many places, so you can get into trouble for having these. Narcotics and slaves, however, can produce some of the biggest profits, because you can sometimes buy slaves and narcotics for like $1 a piece and sell them at almost 900, not 900, 90, and so you can end up getting a massive profit margin from them. But again, that has its own problems. You get the information on the planet itself. This is all, again, just from a very small string. This is all procedurally generated, so these haven't been hard-coded in. So you can see it's a rich agricultural dictatorship. It's got tech level, number of people, and also the type of people. And it just gives you a little bit of information. So even procedurally generates a description for the planet. Now, here we actually see sort of the local star systems. This is our initial planet, and we can use our controls to move around and have a look. And if I was to come over here, lock onto this particular planet, oops, there we go. And as you can see, it's a slightly different planet. Tells you the distance to it, different. And also, this particular planet is controlled by furry creatures. So we'll come over and have a look at this one. You see, this is rich industrial. So this is kind of a place that we want to go. You kind of want to trade between industrial and agricultural worlds. So what we want to do is we want to buy some stuff. So we'd come over to our purchase screen, and then I'll buy, in this example, 17 tons of food. And then I just kind of skip through and then say I'll buy some liquors and wines, and that now means I'm completely out of money. So with nothing else really much to do, I don't want to sell anything. There's equipment I could buy. I've got no money at the moment, but I could buy extra missiles, a large cargo base, so I could carry more stuff around. ECM means you can blow up missiles. You can equip your weapon, additional weapons. You have front, rear, and left and right weapon slots. Fuel scoops means if you fly close to a sun, you can actually refuel yourself for free. And escape pods, so you can eject yourself if you're in trouble. And believe me, that can happen a lot quicker than you expect. So with the system all set up, we can just take a quick look. It's like the galactic chart. And as you can see, there's an awful lot of planets, and there's a total of 8 galaxies that you can travel around. Now, there would be more, but they decided to limit it so as not to sort of have too many places to go. I mean, they easily had, millions of different galaxies, each containing all of these different planets. In many ways, there'll be more places for you to visit than you could ever play. But they carefully went through each of these galaxies, make sure it was traversable, also make sure there was nothing that was spelt out. One of the levels was dropped because they had a planet called Arse in it. So you see, they really spent a lot of time looking over, and I think the initial planets were sort of handcrafted and moved around, but that was about it. Everything else is just randomly generated. Okay, so let's go out into space. I can show you through the actual screen itself. As you can see, you've got a wireframe mode. You can see right in front of us the planet. As you can see, you can actually look through that. It's one of the limitations, but they were working on a very, very small memory budget, so they had to be very careful over what they did. Now, as you can see, we can move up, down. You got roll and you got yaw. You can speed yourself up. You can slow yourself down. If we flip around, we can actually take a look at the space station, and there's the space station. Now, you know you're in the space station's range when you can see this giant S. With a docking computer, which I do have, all I have to do is press the C, and I instantly dock. Now, these bars down here are energy. This affects how much you can actually shoot. For instance, see that? When I shoot, I slowly lose some energy. So also it affects effectively your health as well. Now before you have a docking computer, you have to try and do this all manually. You'd have to try and line yourself up, and also, as you can see, that's a Python that came out. You've got to be very careful about people who come in and out. And it can take a long time before you can actually afford your first docking computer. So quite often in the early stages, this is really the big important thing. So this is why we're going to have a go at it. I'm just letting those Pythons go out, move slowly. They do have collision detection, and they know what's coming up, so they will fly out your way. But all the ships have a limited turning. So what we need to do is we need to line ourselves up basically for the center here, and slowly aim. Just cut the speed down a bit. And then we try and match the rotation. If we got it right. We didn't get it right. We blew up. If you get it right, you get the following. I'm just going to load this. It's a very tricky procedure, and a lot of people it takes a long time to learn how to do it. If you succeed, you'll see that, and you dock. So it's like one of the first purchases you make, no matter what you're doing. So it's one of the first purchases you'll make is the docking computer. It's just so you got some way of being able to land and without actually killing yourself. Right, I've reset the destination, and what we're going to do, we're going to go into hyperspace. So I press H, and off we go. And we're now in the new system. Now, that little circle dot just on our radar system lets me know where the planet stroke space station is. So we're going to head over in this direction for the moment. Down here is our radar, so we can see what's in the vicinity. It'll also let us know if it's left, right, above or below. And this gives us front shields, rear shields, fuel, and various other little bits of information. Now, what we're going to do is going to use the in-system jump drives. This means you don't actually have to sit through all the boring stuff. Now, we've just had something appear right up in the far corner. Now, the odds are it's going to be a pirate. Most friendly people come and appear in the front. Pirates tend to appear from the sides. So we're just going to let ourselves fly, and we'll find out in a moment, because we'll start to be attacked. And there we go. We've just been attacked, so we'll try and line up. There we go. There he is. It's an asp. Fast little buggers these are. They've also generally got an ECM system, so it's very hard to even use missiles against them. So see, press T to line up the missile. And then what I'm going to do is wait for a suitable point, and I'll just show you. Press F to fire off the missile. Because it's an ASP, it's likely to trigger off an ECM system. Not all of them have them, but they are very likely to have them. Missiles are handy because you can use them as fire and forget weapons. Now, what I'm doing is I'm slowly hitting him. So slowly taking some damage off. And now you see his S flash for a second there, which means we would actually be in room close enough in order to dock. Now missiles are not, whilst they're relatively fast, aren't perfect. You can spend a lot of time actually outrunning them. Asps are one of the hardest to actually hit with a missile. Pythons are slow. It's like one of the big lumbering ones. So generally you have to take these out manually. Ooh. Almost there. he's going to try and be getting away now. Oh, not quite. As you can see, almost there. Oh, now he's firing off his missile. So I hit E. And that uses my ECM system and destroys all missiles in the vicinity. Now, if I didn't do that, missiles take an awful lot of damage off you. And 2 of them can pretty much kill you. There we go. Now that was I don't know if you saw, there was a little, well, it was fairly big dot just appeared. That was the escape pod. If I had spare space, I could use scoops and pick him up, and he would get treated as a slave, and also I could pick up some alloys, which I could then later sell. And also they might have some cargo on board. As you can see, they're disappearing off into the background. I'm all lined up. So I press J and carry on my jump. And now we see somebody else in front of us, that little dot. But they're likely to be friendly. So we just kind of have to sail through. We'll pick up the speed, go to max speed, and just sail through. Now when we get closer, this little dot is going to change locations. And it'll tell you where the actual location of the space station is rather than just the planet. Now if we were to look while we're doing this, we could also have a look. And we have enough fuel to get to Daiso if we wanted. And so you see here on this rich industrial, computers quite cheap, machinery a bit more expensive, and food. We'd be able to sell food at a reasonable price. We could have made a profit off the liquor and wines. Don't actually have any stuff on me now because I died and reloaded, just to show you a few bits and pieces. So again, you kind of you could take a look through your rear, and as we can see it's just disappearing off into the distance. We've got the sun behind us. We've got the left view and the right view. Now, one of the things is you could jump over to the sun if you had scoops in order to refuel rather than actually going to the space station itself. Just see over there, the space station is so big that you can actually see it visually before it appears on the radar. So it would kind of line up with the space station. And then eventually, when we get closer, we'll see the docking computer appear. And with good guns and a good aim, you could probably hit the space station from here. Basically, if you can see it, you can hit it. But this particular weapon, as you can see, the shots go all over the place. And also, you get a very rapid fire to begin with. And as time goes on, as it starts to overheat, that LT, just watch for a bit, and then suddenly your shooting rate goes down. So you have to kind of be careful with beam weapons. Personally, I found one of the best weapons was actually the mining laser. It caused an incredible amount of damage. Might not be fastly firing as a military laser, but quite frankly, it was just as effective, if not more effective. You could hit from long range. I don't know if this was a bug, but it's just absolutely hammered everything using mining lasers, and they were very cheap. So now we're in range of the space station. Press C. I dock. And we're back here. See, for killing that enemy, I got 20 cat credits. So you can make a small living going from system to system, actually killing pirates who attack you, collecting up their remains. But just in order to get the docking computers fairly quickly, you often want to do some trading. So yes, this game has been very influential, and it's like a precursor to so many different areas. It's a game that really a lot of people should try and know about, because it's rooted in our history, and it's just so many good things have come out from it. Okay, this has been a look at Elite. I hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you next time.